As someone who has taught guidance at the University of North Texas for 31 great years, I can give you a lot of good information. What am I supposed to do? I help people reach their goals so they can become licensed professional counselors or school counselors. Study led me as I learned more about near-death experiences, NDEs, and how they have a big impact on counseling and other related areas. Near-death experiences, NDEs, were studied in a big way for the first time after Raymond Moody's groundbreaking book, Life After Life, came out in 1975. Moody's groundbreaking book was the first real study into NDEs. He came up with the name and used interviews with about 100 people who had had them. Moody found common themes in these first-hand stories and wrote about how NDEs changed people's lives in a big way. A lot of people in academia became interested in studying the subject properly after this. To begin with, the study mostly looked into what NDEs are and how they impact people. In a similar way, my own research looked into different parts of these meetings. My research grew over time to include things like how telling other people about NDEs changes the people who have had them. A big question I had was how important the first NDE statement was to the process of integrating. What I learned is that how people react to others shapes how they use what they've learned in their everyday lives. Integration goes more quickly when people feel empathy and validation. On the other hand, negative reactions can slow down the process and make it hard to make sense of what happened. In addition, I learned more about the interesting idea that people can talk to loved ones who have died during NDEs and see them again after death. These kinds of stories don't just happen to people who have had near-death experiences, NDEs. It helped me understand NDEs and what they mean for mental and spiritual health more by going into more depth about these events. In conclusion, my research has been shaped by two key interests: NDEs and what happens after they occur. My goal in studying NDEs and their meanings in many areas was to help people better comprehend these life-changing events and discover how they can be utilized in therapy and daily life. NDEs, or near-death experiences, are deep insights into how people think and feel. Meeting dead loved ones and feeling separate from the body are common parts of them. This gives the person a new perspective on the world. Different cultures have similar ideas about NDEs, but how each person understands them depends a lot on what their culture teaches them. People interpret their NDEs in ways that are unique to their society because they happen outside of normal reality. Each meeting is different because of this. It's important to note that near-death experiences, NDEs, are not at all the same. Everything has its own flavor. People who have had NDEs may have some themes that run through their stories, but each experience is still very different. A common motif is a person going through a tunnel. However, this image can look different to people from different cultures. Some cultures see this trip as going through a tunnel, while others see it as going through holy or emotionally important places. Native American near-death experiences are very different from one another, even when the people have the same background. Things may be different for each account. There are different stories about how they got to the bright light. Some say they went through dimly lit caves, while others say they went through bright passageways that led to an overwhelming brightness. Individual beliefs and cultural background have a big impact on how NDEs are understood. A person's religious views can also have a big effect on how they understand NDEs, often making them question or rethink deeply held beliefs. People may have new spiritual beliefs when their NDEs don't fit with their current faith beliefs. This can make them think about their own lives. Many people are troubled by how well standard religious models can explain their NDEs. This makes them think more deeply about spirituality. More information about NDEs makes it clearer how people can have different kinds of meetings with religious figures, like Jesus. This is proof of how individual these events are. Different NDE survivors talk about Jesus' appearance and mood in very different ways. This shows that spiritual perceptions can change during an NDE. Some say they had some say in how Jesus showed up in their lives. This shows that our views and expectations affect how we see spiritual beings. If you cut to the chase, NDEs are a cool way to learn about the mysterious future and how our thoughts work. By looking at how beliefs, society, and personal events affect each other, researchers are trying to figure out the deep mysteries of near-death experiences. Many people believe that seeing a bright being during an NDE is a sign of God, but not everyone who has had one sees this being as God. Different national and personal backgrounds lead to different points of view, which is why some people don't want to be labeled. It's still hard to tell who will have a near-death experience. Fewer than 10% of people who come very close to dying say they had an NDE, according to studies. Most people don't remember anything strange happening. A clear trend doesn't seem to exist between people who remember NDEs and those who don't. Additionally, some people may have more than one near-death experience, but they may only remember one. This makes it even harder to figure out what is going on. It's still a secret why some people remember and talk about near-death experiences, NDEs, and others don't. Although some people remember their NDEs years later, many others either don't remember or choose not to talk about them. The fact that these differences are still hard to explain, though, adds to the wonder of NDEs and shows how personal they are. The effects of near-death experiences are much bigger in people who say they had them than in people who say they had close calls with death, but don't report having NDEs. Loss of fear of death gets stronger, which is a common result of NDEs. Having a personal experience with the edge of death gives people a sense of certainty about how death works, which gives them more faith. Mental, emotional, and social changes can happen after an NDE in a lot of different ways. Beyond making people afraid of death, NDEs can make people more compassionate, mentally clear, and prone to being kind. This often has something to do with the way people think about their lives during NDEs. During spiritual changes, people may become more interested in spiritual activities, choose spirituality over organized religion, or develop spiritual skills such as seeing ghosts or predicting the future. On a physical level, people may have changes in their metabolism, what they like to eat, and how sensitive they are to drugs, pollutants, and allergies. Also, they might have electromagnetic effects, which means that they change electromagnetic events when they are around. As people deal with the many changes their NDEs have brought about, these changes can be seen in their relationships and actions. Deep changes that happen during NDEs often change the way people talk to each other in big ways. People who have had an NDE may feel deeply changed afterward, which may change how they connect with each other and how their relationships are built. How deep this change goes is important for figuring out how NDEs affect people's lives and society in the long term. Researchers, including me, are very interested in how vividly and honestly near-death experiencers, NDErs, talk about their experiences. Many non-believers say that their experiences are powerful and go beyond what people normally believe. A stronger sense of authenticity makes people think deeply about what reality is, as it challenges popular ideas about being aware and existing. NDErs often learn deep lessons on their trips, and most of them are about how important love and kindness are in life. They show that growing and changing our ability to love others and ourselves is the most important thing about our bodies. Many people need to agree that NDEs are real and can connect people to the spiritual world in order to understand these ideas. The most important thing that can be done to help more people accept and understand how important NDEs are is to find proof of them. While some people are interested in these events, others are not sure about them because they don't fit with common economic ideas. Still, we need to help people understand and accept NDEs if we want to learn from their deep lessons about faith and life in general. I am determined to learn more about near-death experiences and the things that happen during them.